Hi, everybody, and welcome to our presentation Convergence or Collision AI and Content Marketing. Without further ado, we'll introduce ourselves. Venkat, how's about you start?
All right, let me go. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. I am Venkat Nagaswamy. I'm the CMO at Mitel. We're a unified communications provider. My bona fides, as it were, for this session is that I was one of the founders and the CEO of a company called Mariana IQ, which used AI and deep learning for marketing. And it's with that experience and background in marketing that I'm hoping to talk to you and see if you'll learn something from this. Michael?
I operate a B2B content marketing consultancy called MSMC, and I've been doing this for a really long time. And like a lot of people in my particular space, I've kept an eye on AI and the way it could possibly affect how we go about doing our business, because I think there are going to be profound impacts. And so, this presentation and some other material we'll talk about at the end that arises out of it um, are basically us trying to understand what is that interaction between AI and content marketing, and
Mhm.
how's it going to impact the content marketing business, our clients, and the professionals who are right now dedicated to turning out content marketing. Um, if you look sort of at what people have said about the effects of artificial intelligence and machine learning, there are extremes. This quote from McKinsey is kind of optimistic. It says, "While automation will eliminate very few occupations entirely in the next decade, it will affect portions of almost all jobs to a greater or lesser degree, depending on the type of work they entail." So, yeah, changes are going to happen, but it's all going to vary. And we've kind of seen in other categories where these changes have not necessarily been that negative or entirely negative. Then again, you have the other extreme. This guy, there certainly will be job disruption, because what's going to happen is robots will be able to do everything better than us. I mean, all of us. I am not sure exactly what to do about this. This is really the scariest problem to me, I will tell you. Elon Musk.
Mhm.
So you take that as you will. But as I said, we're trying to kind of have a better understanding in this presentation about what the impacts might be and how maybe the content marketing community can prepare for it. Because, when you mention AI, there's certain images that jump into people's heads, especially a content creator's head. The idea of automating systems taking over not just the more mundane and boring aspects of content creation. I mean, that's something I think everybody would agree might be,
Mhm.
we might all desire. Or it might be something like this guy. He once wrote content. He once had my job. In fact, that might be me in 10 or 15 years if the robots took over to the degree that a lot of people fear. But, what's the reality here? I think to understand it, we've got to get into an understanding of what are the different species of artificial intelligence, and then Ken, I think you're the guy to talk to that.
All right, let's talk about that. So let's first define what artificial intelligence is. Artificial intelligence is the science and technology of creating intelligent machines. This was John McCarthy's definition. He was one of the forefathers of AI from back in the 50s, and that's essentially how he defined it. Now, there are different levels of AI that you're seeing in the marketplace today. You might have heard about narrow intelligence, artificial general intelligence, and super intelligence. Now, let me talk about what each of these things mean. So, starting with artificial narrow intelligence, as the name implies, it focuses on one narrow area of intelligence, one specific area where the machine can demonstrate its intelligence. One area could be voice recognition or image recognition. These are areas where there's a specific problem, and artificial intelligence has been created to answer that particular problem. Artificial general intelligence, on the other hand, is more human like. It's the kind of intelligence that can do a lot of different things with the same specific kind of training and same algorithm. So, again, us human beings, we can uh, recognize things, we can listen to music, we can speak, all of these things coming from the same intelligence. And that is artificial general intelligence. And normally, when people think about general intelligence, In artificial intelligence, this is what they think about. This is the data from Star Trek that we normally think about. And finally, there is artificial superintelligence. One could argue data is actually artificial superintelligence. It is not just general, not just can it do what humans can do, but you can do it in 1,000 times better. You can do it far better than what humans can. Today, you have artificial narrow intelligence, which is super. For instance, a computer can play chess or Go far better than any human being can. But when we talk about artificial superintelligence, we're specifically talking about cases where it's human intelligence times far more than any one human being could do. And so those are different levels of AI that people are talking about. Now, I want to address a couple of other things related to this that people might be thinking about. One is, what's the difference between automation and AI? Now, even in this presentation, you're going to see automation and AI used interchangeably. However, they're not the same thing. AI, as I was saying earlier, is the science and technology of making intelligence, whereas automation, you can think of it as hardware and software to uh, have machines do things automatically or without any human intervention. Now, 40 years ago, my dad put in place computer numerically controlled machines in his factory. Those automated how you would turn a piece of metal into machine parts. That is automation, but there is limited intelligence in there. Those are places where the machine was told specifically what to do, A, B, C, D, and it executed that. So it is more of it had enough intelligence to follow the instructions, but it didn't have any intelligence like AI that we were talking about. So AI is having the machines do intelligent tasks, whereas automation is doing different tasks automatically without any human intervention, without the need for any intelligence. Of course, as the time goes by, as AI becomes more powerful, it could get into hardware and software where execution and other things happen automatically, but we're not there yet today. And one final thing that I want to address is this whole thing about black box. Now, today, or at least in the past 10 years, the huge improvements in AI that we've seen come from a specific kind of AI called uh, neural networks or deep learning, which is a form of neural networks. And these neural networks are typically what's considered as a black box. We put in a whole bunch of data, we give it training inputs and training outputs, and it learns a certain algorithm. And today, to learn from this algorithm that's been developed, you give it inputs and it makes predictions. However, we don't understand how this intelligence operates. It doesn't tell you how it recognizes an image or how it recognizes a voice or text. And so this is called as black box. Now, glass box AI are ones where the algorithms are explainable. You can say, "Hey, I recognize this as an elephant because it had tusks," or whatever the case may be. That is glass box intelligence, which can explain why it took some decisions and executed it. And the final form is centaurs. Centaurs, as you guys know, it's a mythical beast from Greek or Roman mythology, which is a combination of half man, half horse. And in this case, we're talking about half man, half machine, where it's not only glass box where there is an ability to explain, but it also allows for human intelligence to step in. So you say, "Hey, I recognize this as an elephant because of tusk," and you might have an human intelligence that say, "This is how you tweak a tusk to become an Asian elephant or an African elephant." I don't know. But essentially, Centaur is a place where Centaur AI is the kind of AI that is explainable and allows for human intelligence to govern and control what the outputs are.
So when an Elon Musk is sitting there beating the drums about why we should be afraid of robotics and artificial intelligence, he's really focused on super intelligence. Ultron or Commander Data are going to come in and kick you out of a job
Yep.
because they can do it better. And we're a long way away from anything like that materializing, it seems to me. Is that correct?
That's absolutely fair. There are specific narrow areas where AI has beaten human beings today, but general intelligence that can do everything and can do it far better than human beings, it's not entirely clear whether we'll reach it anytime soon. Of course, it's a solvable problem. It is going to be solved. The question is, when is it going to be solved and how is it going to be solved? It doesn't appear to be something that's going to happen immediately.
Okay. Well, it's interesting because that whole discussion leads into some interesting points about the fact that there is content right now that is being drafted by AIs, and we'll get into that a little bit. But it's not the kind of content that human beings will necessarily miss doing, because a lot of it is very rote, very repetitive. Dare I say it's mechanical in nature. Doesn't mean that being able to do good writing and original writing to a certain degree, that's not insulated from machine learning and AI. Because the interesting point is that the harder the intellectual process is, apparently, the easier it is for a machine to execute it. But it's the instinctual parts of creativity that machines can't master. As far as who's using AI and machine learning to generate content, Forbes has been generating earning reports through Quill, a AI provider, for 8 to 10 years. Quill is fairly well known. A lot of you out there may have heard of it. Mm-hmm. Associated Press partnered with Automated Insights. So its quarterlies are being generated using that vendor's Wordsmith platform. And before the implementation, AP was creating those quarterlies for 300 companies manually. Now it's doing 3,000 of them every quarter. So there's a business advantage to them to using machine learning and automated content creation there. The New York Times, of all outlets, is using artificial intelligence to generate wedding announcements. I don't know what the bride and groom will feel about that. The Washington Post uses Heliograph, which is an in-house system, a storytelling technology. So they use that for basic sports coverage or for localized election results. NGS earthquake reports are generated using AI. Yahoo Sports basically generates all of its fantasy American football drafts and match recaps using AI. And the thing is that most readers can't differentiate between content that's generated by these platforms and stuff that is written by journalists, again, because of the fact that it's so mechanical and it's so rote. Some of the stuff that's driving this, as we alluded to, is the high degree of efficiency that is possible by using these platforms to generate this kind of content. 90% of the world's data in just the year 2017 had been created over the previous 2 years. So that's a gigantic inundation of data. Analyzing it and being able to break it down and churn out content on the basis of that is really far beyond the limitations of human beings. But as I said, the content that's generated by AI is often described as being boring and extremely mechanically descriptive. So out of that, you would think there's an upside. The Associated Press estimates that the automated stories have freed up 20% of the time its journalists spend on earnings reports, as well as allowed it to cover additional companies that it didn't have the capacity to report on before. And I was a UPI stringer once, and I had to cover a lot of committee meetings. And believe me, if there was a machine that could handle that for me so I could do more interesting work, I'm all in favor of it. And as I said, in marketing, the machines are already here. AI-generated content, it's commonly being used. It's being used by blogs, by news aggregators. Brands are experimenting with it all over the place for creative work, including generating advertising, including music composition and creation. We'll get into some interesting examples of all of that. Movie making and even painting. What happens when you're able to crunch that amount of data and you're able to generate this amount of content is you're able to do better personalization. And most consumers, 72% of them, say that they only want to engage with personalized messaging. So if you're a marketer, you want to be able to generate content that's personalized against as many of those people as possible, or at least against personas as specifically as possible. But you can't do that with a human staff, not cost effectively. And so, almost 90% of digital businesses are investing in personalization. So they're just looking for the right tools to allow them to create that personalized engagement. And AI in time will allow ultra personalization of content. And, Venkat, you are an expert in terms of how that targeting works. I'll throw it back to you.
Yep. So my startup, Mariana, which I started as I was saying earlier, was the whole point was extreme targeting. How do we use data to identify which companies to go after, who within the company to go after, and how do you find them on various channels? And that's an extreme form of targeting. You can think of targeting and personalization as two sides of the same coin. As a marketer, you have your target market, you're going after the target market, and you can use data to identify what the target market is, and then figure out what is the content that's going to appeal to them. There's another way to think about personalization and targeting, which is going the other way. And we're working with a couple of companies on this area, which is if there is a whole bunch of content, how do you then target the person or target the content based on a visitor to website? Often content producers have a lot of content and they want to position it in front of the users who are most likely to resonate with it. How do we use AI to do that? Again, AI understanding who the people are, understanding data from individuals, can then personalize or position the right content from a library of content that might be there based on the user that's visiting the site. We can also use this kind of personalization to create a journey within a site. Once you have a content, we often have seen sliders come up on the website that say, "Hey, maybe you'd be interested in this." Think of this as a content level of recommendation similar to Amazon. It's not just about who you are, but it also has to do with what content you've consumed before to then take you to the next step. So uh, once you do all of these things, we've talked about personalization, we've talked about content creation, we've talked about targeting. So what can we do? So what lies ahead for us content marketers? So as the quote here says, any content that's created by AI needs to be very human. Unless it's human, we cannot, unless it feels human, users are not going to be able to resonate with that. So that is what AI needs to do. And let's talk about a couple of examples of how we can use AI and use it for content creation and targeting right now. So let me start off with an example of image creation. So this is a tool that came out from a company called OpenAI, originally started by Sam Altman and funded by Elon Musk and a bunch of people. It started off as a nonprofit, and now it's become a company as well. And they've done some really interesting thing with respect to AI. Let me go to the next page, which has a cooler example. So what DALI does, and obviously on Salvador Dali, what it does is you can feed it a bunch of words and phrases, and it generates an image based on that. So this is a Twitter stream that Sam Altman had put out a couple of months ago around DALI, and he said ask people for taglines that the AI could create content for. And this one said, a rabbit detective sitting on a park bench reading a newspaper in a Victorian setting was the prompt. And you can see the picture here. And so this is a case where, and again, DALI is a tool that's been trained on a lot of text and images. And in some way, does it understand text is a hard thing to say, but in some way it's able to correlate text and images with text and images. Therefore, you can send it prompts and it creates images for you. And I thought this was a cool example of using AI to create content and create text. Create content from text.
Yeah.
Now, here's another example, Robin Sloan. Now, Robin Sloan, much like our Michael Seamer here, went to Michigan State, and I won't hold it up against him, given that I went to Michigan. Robin Sloan is an author. His first book was Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore. The way he uses AI is following. Now, what he does is to form a few texts that he writes, then asks AI to produce the rest of the text. Now, this is based on an AI technique, again, based on neural network called transformers that OpenAI's GPT-3 uses. And it completes the sentence. Now, in this case, it's not a question of trying to make the text better, but it's trying to make it different. Now, about 20, 30 years ago, when Gary Kasparov played chess against the IBM's chess playing computer, he said he felt a different kind of intelligence playing against him. And even the Go, when AlphaGo competed with the greatest Go champion, the Go champion was talking about how AlphaGo made moves that no human would think about. And so the point that I'm trying to make here is that in this example, Robin Sloan is using it as a way to bring things and bring texts that are very weird, but somehow works in this situation. And he, Robin Sloan, acts as an editor to then figure out how to use this text further. So this is an example of how AI, using techniques and using tools that are available today, can help us in creating content that's very different, interesting, that could help us create content that ultimately is more human in some form. And finally, let me, in terms of examples, let me give you another example of another topic that is close to my heart, close to a lot of content marketers' heart, around SEO. So this is a tool called INK, and what it does is to create or modify content specifically for SEO. Now, as we know, usually when we create content for an SEO, we're going after specific keywords. We're going after a certain audience. And based on the audience, we recognize what keyword resonates with them, and then we then use that to create content. What Ink does is once we create content and specify what keywords that we're going after, it then tries to understand whether this text that's written will resonate for the keywords that are being specified. It does so by looking at the whole web, looking at all the other content that's there, and not only does it allow you to does it give scores on how well it resonates with the audience and with the keywords that you're targeting. It also makes suggestions. It also rewrites semantically the text so that it will be most friendly for SEO, that it's most discoverable, that's most engaging, that also creates the voice that you're looking for. And that I thought was very cool about this tool. And again, SEO, given that we live in a search for first world, using AI to be able to create and repurpose content to be able to do this is, in my view, a super cool thing to do. So
Yeah.
we've talked about some of the examples of how to use text. Michael, anything you want to add to this?
Well, the only thing I would add is that, people, I think everybody knows what Grammarly is, and if you have Grammarly Pro, it makes a lot of suggestions about how you can improve the readability of your content, how it can follow the optimal rules for grammar, structure, even how well you are getting across a given thought or idea in a specific line.
Mhm.
What you've just talked about, Venkat, are things which just take it a step beyond, because they sort of remove human volition from that, instead of the machine going back and forth with you, asking permission to do it line by line. You're giving it the latitude to go ahead and make some of those decisions and optimize this material on its own, or generate the material on its own and optimize it. So it's not that big of a leap, in a lot of ways, from a lot of the tools that people are already using, and frankly, are a lot of people are using them, and they're very happy to have these tools available to them as they generate content, especially if they're generating large volumes of content on behalf of clients.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so it's important to understand, as a content marketer. Well, first, it's important to understand that these tools are coming down the chute, and especially if you're working in a large organization, or you're working for large clients who have a lot of content needs, or you're within one of those organizations, you're going to have to learn what the matrix is, as far as what's the content AI maturity of your organization. So we've constructed a model here, which is uses a fairly typical framework for a maturity model, but we've applied this one too what stage are you at as an organization, whether you are a corporation, a content marketing department within a company, or you're an agency which is purporting to deliver content. What level are you at? And so the four levels we've assigned here are unstarted, whereas you're basically not doing anything. You don't have any tools in use. You're sort of hand cranking the sausage the old fashioned way. And there's a place for artisanal content creation. The next level up from there is, as you pointed out, Venkat, is content measurement, where you are instituting content metrics and analytics using AI. So you're able to analyze things like, the reading level of your content, the sophistication, the audience metrics involved, the engagement metrics. And you're using AI because you wouldn't be able to scale that kind of analysis.
Mm-hmm.
To really analyze precisely everything that's going on from a measurement standpoint. Some of the tools that people use are Google Analytics and its AI features, Grammarly, and so forth. And the benefits of it to the corporation is those improved analytics allow you to aid in the efficacy of your content. You can make better content because you know what's working, where, and when. The next stage up from that would be content tailoring. That means that your organization is creating content and you're targeting it in a very tailored way to very specific personas, very specific desired audiences. Some of the tools that are being used there are Sixth Sense, Triplio, Persuado, and others that are yet to come. The benefits are, more relevant content delivered relevantly, meaning you're reaching out to the right person at the right time, at the right moment, with the right content in order to engage and influence them. And a lot of that process, and even the content that's being generated, is stuff that helps liberate the content team, whether they're the folks who are in charge of the actual PPC program or the content creators. They're being liberated from having to worry about all of those things. So that drives higher efficiency and a lot of much better cost containment. And then at the highest level is what we call content automation. And by that, I think we mean like complete end-to-end content automation, where the content is really, the creation of that content is automated, and it's automated at a very high level. It's delivered with the precision we've just talked about. From the start to the finish of the content marketing process, generation, delivery, analysis, improvement, rinse and repeat. That is all being done through the most sophisticated of tools, and it's very hands off for any human participation. And because of that, a lot of the tools that would be used here, correct me if I'm wrong, Venkat, they have yet to be developed. They've yet to allow organizations to function at this high level of sophistication. But what they would get is the highest level of efficiency. They'd also get the highest level of engagement. And the highest level of ROI coming out of that. And that's the plateau everybody wants to get to in time. But a lot of the tools haven't yet manifested themselves, unless I'm mistaken.
No, you're absolutely right. Right now, we have different pieces. We have tools to measure. We have certain tools which can generate but not necessarily align with it. We have certain tools which can check. And what we're talking about here is a way to seamlessly combine all of these three things, so that based on the audience and whom we're trying to appeal to, content is generated on its own.
Yeah, and I think it's important to people to look at this, and especially at the higher levels here, and don't look at these as escalating levels of replacement of human content creation and input. They're escalating levels of partnership and opportunity. And I think that's what we're really getting at here. If you're able to sum up in any way about this, it's that if you're paying the bills by grinding out reams of very mundane content, as I said, very mechanical content, well, you're probably understandably worried about the fact your client may replace you. But AI and automation are also, for content leaders, among the very best tools out there that they can look at and hopefully utilize as part of their content production mix. Um, so there's an increasing spotlight on simply being more productive and producing more personalized content. So in order to do that, the simple truth is AI is going to become mandatory to reach the levels of efficiency and engagement that corporations want and need, and human beings alone are not going to be able to deliver against that. So I think everybody who's a content professional needs to understand where AI is going and then figure out ways to use AI, sort of in the Centaur model you talked about, Venkat, to elevate the human factor in content marketing. And allow us all as content creators to just do a better job than we're doing right now, as it liberates us and helps us create even better material.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the last point that you made is the one that resonates with me, especially Michael, which is that AI is a tool that we're using ultimately to create very human content to appeal to us humans to create the kind of content that we'd like to consume.
Well, with that, thank you, everybody. We hope we provided some value. There is an accompanying ebook that goes with this presentation, and it's available at michaelseamer.com/convergence. So go there, and you will be able to download the PDF of the ebook, which kind of covers the history of content automation over the past couple of decades, where it's been and where it's going. And with that, again, thank you for your kind attention.
Thanks all. Take care.